Hi, it's Dave here. This is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinema. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. But today we are walking around the day after the finale of the Traitors Ireland Season 1, and we are going to be spoiling it and talking about it as of now. So why don't we just, I guess, like overall thoughts maybe
Before we get into it.
before we get into it, we'll go through sort of the big moments blow by blow. But how do you feel, Kathy, looking back at the first season of the Irish Traitors?
So it was an absolute phenomenon. I always thought it was going to be big, but it's really taken the country by storm. It's been such a pleasure to have a show that everyone in the country is like talking about, that people are watching live. I love live TV because typically that's only around like sporting events, which just I'm not into. So I've loved that element of it. I think they did an amazing production on it. Kite Entertainment, I think they've done a really, really brilliant job. They inserted some Irishness without it being like hokey.
Irish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Siobhan was brilliant casting. I think they did an amazing job on the cast. So I've been so happy, and like I'm actually really sad it's over, but I think, you know, it comes to an end and it needed to end. So overall I'm so happy with it. It was so fun to have the live finale last night. We had my mom, my sister, my brother-in-law over, and it was just like a big event, you know, all watching it together. And finally, of course, the fact that we got to meet Caitlin and Andrew was just such a treat as well as part of this. Dave,
Yeah,
overall thoughts?
I agree with everything you say. It's been a joy to watch. It's been a joy. It felt like being transported back to 15 or 20 years ago, when we were all saying this. Such a novelty in a way, to be all sitting together waiting to go get your cup of tea when the ad break comes on. You can't pause it, watching ads. Now we are absolutely sick to death of Fair City ads and it's just like too many of the same ads, but whatever. Like just the five of us, so as Kathy said, her mom Linda, her sister Elizabeth and her boyfriend Owen all came round. The five of us were screaming and shouting at the TV. The dialogue and the discourse has been fantastic. So there's this real sense of, yeah, as you say, just a live TV event, the kind of thing I used to love Twitter being around for.
Exactly, and people actually live texting us during it because you know people are watching it.
Yeah.
Like there's no, you know, so yeah, I love all that aspect of it. And then I think, look...
And it's been a good show, and I agree.
It's been a really good show.
And I agree with you. I think that Kite did a really good job here. I mean, my expectations were low. As we said at the beginning of this, there has been a history of sort of kind of cheaper looking shoddy or just like mistranslated formats or on RTE or on Irish television in general, and we just don't have the budgets or scales that the UK do, so we've always kind of been in their shadow in terms of media. But honestly, not only did they, besides a few creaky moments, I think they did a fantastic job of translating the show. It looked really well.
Yeah.
But really, the spice is the casting, and they did a phenomenal job not only casting a great range of characters, but finding Paddy and then finding his son. And because Kathy explained to them, you were telling me yesterday about the casting process.
I was watching our buddy, the Ray Darcy show, and the executive producer was saying that like they had decided to cast Paddy, and then he said, I think some of my kids probably applied because we play this game at home. And then they kind of dug through the applications and realised they put two and two together regarding Andrew, but they obviously never cross-referenced it. And then it was like a hope and a prayer that they were related, and they were. So much fun, and like we'll get into it now.
Brilliant casting.
It's just the casting was brilliant. Like the finale can go a lot of ways in Traitors. Like I still maintain the UK season 1 finale was like the best thing I ever saw. This finale, it kind of all accumulated at the round table, I think, and then after that it fizzled a bit, but I'm thrilled with the outcome. Like we were shouting in our house. So we just get into the recap now, because
let's do it.
We don't need to talk about like, you know, every detail of the show, but just to kind of get to the big bits.
Big thing to say at breakfast is that Kelly and Owen come down first, and Owen says, you know, bit off target for her, but she says she really trusts Nick. And this is interesting that she started the day on this and then completely went the other way.
I was surprised to hear this. Of all the people who keep saying they trust him, she hasn't been one of them. So I was like, another one? Two?
And you, and Owen as well, Detective Owen.
Yeah.
But Kelly, I think, puts her onto this. Kelly says, and we all like screamed and said, "Yes, Kelly!" when she said, I think it could be one of the boys. In fact, it could be two of the boys, and they both kind of gave each other this look.
Like it's only just dawned on them.
I mean, yeah, it's like finally the penny dropped. Then Ben came in and they shut up.
And this is like where the episode was, part of what was interesting with the episode is like, there were many times where there's just silence because like, what are you supposed, if there's 5 of you left, like what are you going to say to Ben? Do you know, and I think this
40% of you are traitors.
Exactly.
So you can't really talk to anyone.
So yeah, I love this about Turn, and we were saying like when we were only reviewing, you know, Sunday night's episode with Andrew, that like I felt like it had gotten a little bit dull because we like to think of an underdog, and then this was an underdog because coming into this episode it was very much like the lads themselves said it's ours to lose, and we really thought that they were just going to pull one over on the girls.
Well,
I love that the beginning of the episode was perfect.
They correctly identified, Ben and Nick, that Kelly had all the power, and their tactic was to swing her vote and get her to vote for Vanessa. But I think this critical moment was at breakfast when Kelly and Owen are talking. They seem to trust each other.
Yeah,
they've got this
100% faithful energy.
And I think well, Vanessa, I felt like she was the only one of those the three girls who could have been called into question. But Owen and Kelly being first and discussing this theory, I think is a critical juncture where Kelly could not get this out of her head.
Yeah.
So no matter how hard Nick came at her.
But like in the car, two were from the challenge, I can't remember, but he starts kind of going at her, trying to like sway her, and she's just like not having it for a minute.
Well, let's skip right to there, because we'll skip over the challenge because I don't think there's much to be said for it. I found it a little uninteresting. Clearly they've gone to a lot of effort, and there was a helicopter, and there's
we're just not
loads
challenge
of stuff,
people.
but it wasn't.
Like I said, we don't watch sport. Turns out we don't watch challenges. Happy for them though. I love the sentiment of them all winning the full amount. Like it's the biggest amount we've seen won.
It just found like it was a bit like going from A to B to C, and then it was a scavenger hunt.
But I was happy for them, and like I'm really glad to see the extra 10k added onto the prize pot, particularly
substantial,
because it ended up being split 3 ways. So if that hadn't gone on, like the girls, you know, it boosted them all, and they all were saying it's like one of the best days of their life, and like the feeling they had together, and I was so happy for them. Like I was buzzing for them. But yeah, that's enough on the challenge.
But anyway, so they're going on the way to their round table, and Nick is kind of trying to say to Kelly in the car, it's just the two of them, you know, Paddy had Vanessa's name down, right? Come back to this Paddy
He's
thing.
clever though, because he's like, what can I pin on Vanessa?
And he needed some bit of evidence or clue, and it's a smart move. He is a good game player. He went right back to
he's smart,
like the last traitor that was kicked out, and then you look at what they were trying to tell you, and so and then Kelly, and then they kind of talk about Paddy recruiting somebody, because they are all pretty sure that Paddy recruited somebody, and then Kelly sort of says, oh yeah, she recruited somebody all right, and she gives this look that he doesn't really see but we see.
It was very much like
The
Office.
It was you. Yeah, exactly.
Jim in the like.
That's
and
it.
Also, did you notice in this, because it was, again, I said you notice it more in daylight, right? Ben was like ashen with tiredness.
He's so pale.
He looked like a man who's just run like 10 marathons in a row. Like he looked so tired, and I didn't even think he'd his full wits about him compared to what he's normally like.
No.
Whereas she was I think she was coming in guns blazing. She's like, I've made it to the finale now. Whereas yesterday she missed the whole Ben saying the past tense about will things. She was more on the ball this week. Whereas, and then the other car was just complete.
I mean, that was so funny. So you've Vanessa and Ben and Owen, and they're just like, so your friends call you Nessa, I suppose. And I love how he was like, can I be your friend?
No, bless him. It was just, I mean, it was just so funny.
So tense.
It's so, I would have died to be there, like, with all those kind of tense scenes. And then, like, the round table felt like it came quick enough, because obviously we know you have to move on to a few things here. And these round tables have just been so thrilling.
This was a great round table.
Great round
I would say it's
table.
one of the best ones.
The
rest of the
round table
episode's kind of downhill from here.
It looks
but
so huge.
This is the highlight.
When there were only 5 of them sat around, I love the glamour.
I know, right?
We finally got glamour, which I've been looking for. Siobhan looked amazing, and I loved her hat.
They all looked great.
They looked so
good.
They
glammed themselves up.
And the glam for the final round table really kind of makes it hit home, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is our last one. And in fairness to Nick, he put up a good fight. And then we were watching it and we said, it's all down to Kelly. And then Kelly goes, it's all down to me.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Nick, there was energy, a lot of a similar energy to the Faye Vanessa thing, I think, carried over here with Nick and Vanessa. And in
they're
fact,
both just very feisty.
What we should say firstly is that Oyen was back on form.
Yeah.
She put her detective
Love to
hat
see
back
it.
on straight away. On not only just like Nick's the traitor, but here's what happened. Paddy recruited him, and he's been sleeping in the shadows, or whatever she said, slipping through the cracks.
Her.
Which is exactly it. She had everything down pat, and she deserved to
when
win
she came out with
and
that,
be
we
there
were screaming.
more than anybody.
We were just like, oh, here she is back again,
Yes.
you know. And look, some people get things wrong, but when she gets it right, she gets it very right. And then Vanessa was just basically like defending herself to Ben, but she was like, I love when Ben said something to her and she said, you can criticize my actions,
Nick
but
said
sorry, Nick. She goes, you can criticize my actions, but you can't criticize my character, which is some line.
She was a cool cucumber here, I gotta say.
Amazing. And then Kelly was like taking no.
Don't you dare call me aggressive. You did the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
She threw it back in his face.
And when he did say aggressive, we all winced. It's like, I just didn't agree with his assessment of her at all, and she's just defending herself. And I was really pleased to see her throw that back. Like, these women are very smart.
And then
very
Kelly,
smart women.
And then Kelly had him. They all had him, because she said, he was like, it's Vanessa. I'm telling you, it's Vanessa. She was like, if you thought it was Vanessa yesterday, why didn't you vote for her? And
which is what we
why
were saying.
did you vote for Faye?
Why were you doing absolutely nothing the last few days?
Exactly. The Faye thing really came back to bite the boys here.
Yeah.
And the other thing that came back to bite them, which we were saying last night, was murdering Will, which I think was a critical mistake.
Move.
Really bad mistake.
They should have murdered
Oyen.
Should
have murdered Oyen.
But like, they didn't see it, and they underestimated it. Now they said, oh, she's very smart, but like, what were they doing? And like, remember Andrew had said like you needed to split up Vanessa and Oyen because like they're too close, they'll never turn on each other. They were like the other Ben and Nick.
Yeah.
And huge mistake, big mistake, huge.
Now they didn't say. They said their reason at the time for killing Will was that he was unpredictable and could do anything, but I don't think he didn't have any influence at the table.
But I also
nobody
think
would take him seriously.
He's unpredictable, but Oyen is predictable and should vote for Vanessa because they're best friends.
Exactly.
So like, wouldn't you take the unpredictable? Anyway,
she won't vote for Vanessa.
When they actually lingered so long on Kelly, on Kelly's board.
I mean, it was all down to Kelly.
Yeah, I love that, and she said it as well. And then when they said, even though we've said already on the podcast, we would have been happy for Nick and Ben to win just after the humanization of them all, you know, at the dinner. So we were like, we weren't particularly rooting for anyone, but of course, you know, I wanted the girls to win. I'll
be honest. I agree. I like Nick and Ben, and by the end, I would have been okay with them winning. Mm-hmm. But I was rooting. I was team girls.
It's the underdog thing because they've had a bad few episodes. Yeah. And when she wrote Nick on the board, we all screamed. We were screaming.
So you talk about you likened it to sports. This felt like you're watching this thing live with the rest of the country. Yeah. It's either going to go in the goal or they're going to miss.
It's the closest we'll ever get to the feeling of watching sports.
It was thrilling.
It was so fun.
I jumped out of my chair.
And then he went out so nicely. And he said, this has been one of the best days of my life, which I thought was so sweet. And then
but he gave that little clue, didn't he? This was a real curveball.
See, I don't know whether they allowed you things like that. Like, bit of a slap on the wrist.
They're not supposed to.
He goes, Paddy was half right.
And I was confused by this, and I think they were confused by this. And what's curious is that so the reactions to everybody, which they should have been looking at for clues, were Kelly and Oyen jumping out of their seats and hugging, typical 100% faithful manoeuvre.
Albeit Paddy was doing that when Andrew got kicked out. So
well, he had to fake it. This is the problem.
Some people can fake it.
Ben didn't fake anything and I think this is the right move by Ben, because if he tried to perform joy at finding a traitor / his best friend going out, it would have looked insincere. So he just puts his face in his hands, which I think
is probably what he would have done anyway.
It's a genuine reaction, but also I think he could have slipped out of anyone saying, you know, why were you reacting like that? But Vanessa had the oddest reaction in that she just stayed still and she was crying, and I think it was a come down from what was a very fraught emotional confrontation with
which
Nick.
she did not take well. And like the other thing is, like, this is where it's really interesting, and we always must remind ourselves as human beings, we think people will act in a certain way, but as a viewer we know she's 100% faithful, and she didn't get up and jump, so you can never predict how someone's going to act.
But actually nobody seemed to pick up on this, because I was worried in that moment, oh no, with the clue that Nick gave, with her reaction, the others might now
maybe
look at her.
she did jump and then sit down again. That bit we don't know, you see.
Perhaps,
So you don't know. But anyway, we were like, well, Ben's goose now. And this is where in the final fire pit stuff was incredibly dull, because when they all voted to banish Ben, we were laughing so much, saying that imagine Ben, when there was 4 of them, had gone, let's just split the pot.
Let's
but
call
when
it
they banished Ben, they then said Ben was a traitor, which
Big
in
mistake.
the English one, and I believe in the American one, they don't do. And look, we haven't watched all the iterations.
you said I've only seen a couple of seasons now.
In the most recent episode of the British one, they even, at the point when Nick went out, that person wasn't
they're
allowed
not
to say
allowed
what
to
they
reveal,
and
which
that
is
makes it
more
really
interesting,
thrilling,
because this is the problem. It completely removed all tension from the fire pit when they knew they were 2 traitors. They knew they were down to 1 traitor.
Yeah.
And then
they
they made Nick or Ben announce his. So it's like all tension fizzled out.
And like, I think there's other ways that it could have gone, right? So say if they'd banished Vanessa at the thing, and then she had said, I'm not a traitor, then at the fire pit, that would have been really exciting.
Yeah.
So I can, because you have, if you're down to 3 people, you would assume there's another traitor, and you'd be kind of screwed, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just, unfortunately, both the way they decided to have traitors reveal themselves and the sequence in which they got the traitors out left that last bit incredibly anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Albeit, of course, we were very happy for them, and I think Ben went out super gracefully, total gentleman, and like, we love to see, like, we were obviously screaming and clapping for the 3 girls, because like, it was such a fun twist and turnaround against the previous episode where we felt like they were all going to lose.
But it was just, what didn't make sense to me was Siobhan's there saying, you know, Ben goes, and then we, the audience, and them know all the traitors are gone, because they can do maths.
Yeah.
Because they learned maths in one of the challenges. And Siobhan's there like, is there a traitor in your and it's like, no,
but where this could have been compelling though, and again, this is not actually the show's fault, if there had been 3 people there, right? Imagine if the final 3 had been like Joanna, Vanessa,
or
and Oyen.
Yeah.
Like, people who weren't necessarily getting along.
Yeah.
There could have been a sense there, and I don't know if this would have happened or not, where like, if 2 of them were mates and they didn't like the other one, they might have both said, let's vote again and get rid of a 3rd person. But the dynamic of the show wasn't like that.
And look, that's fine. Look, so the show happens organically. You can get whatever. And, you know, I think it was worth it to get that. It was an incredible round table moment. And
I loved it.
It resulted in a fizzled out fire pit.
But even, do you know, when you think of the end of, actually, like a lot of reality shows, like Games of Attrition, like this one, when you think about like Love Island, last couple of episodes always dead boring.
Yeah, because they're all coupled up and there's no conflict.
Exactly. And like, I just think Traitors always has like a mid-season peak, and then it naturally fizzles, and that's okay, because that's life, and also we're all happy with the outcome.
As finales go, like, I still think, as I said, delivered a lot of highs.
Yeah.
A lot of highs.
Especially the girls copping early on in the day about the lads.
And I was genuinely excited for them to have won it.
I was
and also how amazing as a country for us to have somebody who's been through direct provision, one of our most controversial,
really dark. For anyone who's interested outside of Ireland who doesn't know what it is, actually a couple of years ago we did an episode on Aisha, which was a film about direct provision. So
Find that film and watch it.
It's a great film. So I recommend the film, and also we had kind of a big chat about direct provision on that episode, so go back a couple of years, you'll find it in the feed, Aisha, Aisha. But yeah, anyway, I was so happy for her out of all of them. I just think I really wanted her to get it, and Oyen for her detective work, and Kelly for being such an absolute doe. So I was delighted for the 3 of them.
Yeah, and Kelly's young, and you know, this money means a lot to her.
Yeah.
You know, so I like.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Fair play to all of them.
And after all that stuff.
And Ben went out like a gent as well.
Exactly, all that kind of mean girl stuff. I've seen Joanna's come out and made a video and been like, leave them all alone, you know, like, it's all fine. And then I saw videos of them on social last night, all watching the finale together, looking time of their lives. And Paddy has now been cast in the Panto at Christmas. playing the Wizard of Oz.
Why not?
And I just think that's inspirational casting because he won't have too many scenes, but when he has them, he'll absolutely steal the show.
Smart move.
Yeah, very smart
move, Panto.
Yeah, anyway, listen, thank you for everyone who's listened along. I know we've gotten some new listeners for this, so please stick around every Sunday. We are here recording our walk home from the movies, and over on Patreon we review a ton of other TV stuff, which will include the Walsh Sisters, which I can't wait to watch.
Yes, and if you go over to our Patreon, you'll get monthly retro movies that you can vote on. We have just watched 13 going on 30. We've done an episode on that. We've got 70 other ones, so you can join up for free. You get 7 days. You can dip in and try a few. There's at least one movie you'll have seen.
And also at the moment we're doing a John Grisham season, so
we're watching The Client.
I'm reading the books, speed reading the books, and then we're watching the movies together. So we've already done The Pelican Brief and The Firm. We're about to do The Client, and then after that will be The Runaway Jury.
And also the finale of Alien Earth is tonight. I'm jumping on to record with Elaine and Mark from the Honeymoon Period podcast tomorrow night, and Stephen, one of our patrons. So you can, patrons can end up talking on our podcast as well. So head over to patreon.com/thecinemal for that. In the meantime, though, as always, our weekly feed will be weekly trips to the cinema, as Kathy said. On Sunday, we're tossing up either a trip to A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey with Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, or A Big, Bold, Beautiful Battle, or what was it called? What's that Paul Thomas Anderson one called with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I'm voting for Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie personally. And you can't find the other one, so I think we've got a winner. Anyway, thank you everyone for listening, and thanks again to our wonderful guests, Caitlin and Andrew. I wish we could have had more people on, but honestly the show went so quickly and we didn't have time. But thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for listening. It's called One Battle After Another. Sorry about that. Bye.